This is the Power of OZmosis podcast, powered by the Vidwheel Creator Network. We are now recording on the Power of OZmosis video podcast, our first ever virtual video podcast feature, and that will be of Mr. Brian Lehman, CEO of Client of OZmosis, EmergenceTek Group out of Buffalo, New York. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you, John.
Hope we're doing great here. So yeah, I wanted to unpack some things and actually first introduce you, of course, at a higher level. Brian, to the watchers here, Brian is a community, a business leader, a friend, and a mentor of mine. Was my first real boss, and it's pretty cool to be sitting here today to do this podcast with you, Brian. And again, thanks for all your support through the years. And so, Brian, again, CEO, the vision of ETG, EmergenceTek Group, a software development firm in Buffalo, New York. And so here we are today. We want to talk, through the lens of the CEO of ETG. And that we're going to start with is the direction and vision of ETG from Brian, your lens.
I appreciate it, John. And I thanks for spending the time with me today. I think you've come a long way, and I'm excited to sit down and have this one-on-one. And hopefully, some of our viewers can see where ETG is heading in the future. So I'm excited about today and appreciate the lead up. So ETG has spent the better part of 9 years building what I'll call a base team. And the base is around processes that we put in place, customers that we've built over the years, and really about the quality of work we've brought to our customers. We have literally no or very little turnover on our customer base. Everybody appreciates the work that our team brings forward. And 9 years of effort has brought upon us a process that ETG has focused on for a long time. We have spent the better part of the past year, 2 years to look inside ourselves and see how we can improve the customer experience. And we really take away from our customers, where are we heading next? What should we be doing to support them better? So that's really how ETG has gotten here today.
Awesome. Well said, well stated. And it's pretty cool, as mentioned earlier, to see the maturation, the growth, the progressions of, ETG, your business there alongside your partners, Bab and Pat, having been part of the very early beginnings of ETG in late 2012. So major kudos there. Let's talk more about who you are today. Who is ETG? As we sit here today in the beginning of 2021.
Thank you. Really looking at who we are today has really been a maturity over the past year of our intentions for what 2020 was supposed to be. We were entering into 2020 really with a vision of being cloud focused, and that cloud focus, that vision, really it took a step in almost the right direction when COVID started. COVID gave us an opportunity, by the loss of a few customers, to take our efforts and focus on what does cloud first mean to ETG? What does it mean to our customers? And how will our customers react to, the new vision for our company? So we really focused on first development of our employees, making sure our employees got training around the AWS cloud solutions. In fact, AWS isn't the only cloud solution that we focus on. We have many customers of ours on Azure, and so a lot of our employees have dabbled in Azure and worked many projects in Azure. So really, our focus was who do we want to become, and the 2021 shakeout of that vision is really taking a look at the cloud, how our customers are migrating to the cloud, and taking a look at process first. We are not just a lift and shift company. What I mean by that is we're not taking data and just putting it to the cloud. We're taking a look at a process and making sure that we break that process down to make sure it's engineered correctly, so that when you do move to the cloud, or let's say you already have moved to the cloud, that the information is working to your advantage, making sure that you're most cost effective as possible, making sure that the engineering that forethought that was put into the process, make sure that you may be first to the market on an opportunity. Or if your process is you're coming off of a legacy system, making sure that cost is a big component of the operation, and it's how to drive down that cost so that you can put your time and energy on the product that you're building.
Well said. And you had talked about the team a bit, and I'd love to hear more about the maturity of the team and the leadership and how things have shifted over the last maybe last year or so. But even looking back from day one till now, I think it'd be a really cool reflection to have here on this episode on how far your team has come along, both in the director level, in the technical level, but also at the leader level, where you welcomed a new partner in Pat Garland, and then obviously also Babna Magundu there.
That's a great question. Maturity, I believe, is part of an organization. So you look back at the past 9, almost 10 years of this company, and where we started. I just spent a minute talking about the process maturity in the company, but really, where does that come from? We have introduced, as you pointed out, a new CIO in the last 2 years for our organization, and that person has driven his experience in the organization, and our management maturity has needed to really learn from his experience, as well as making our own mistakes over the past 9 years. Our management team stepped into these roles, and they've grown with the company, and they will continue to grow with the organization. So the maturity is a big part of, I believe, our growth. Our team not only has learned to work with each other, but work with customers, and the customers are really the driving factor of where the organization is going, and how our maturity has grown. So I really think that when you look at an organization, and I keep talking about ETG's base. ETG's base is the maturity, to your point, the process that has grown, and the cloud-focused mindset of where we're heading. And when you look at a team like ours, it's a conversation that's starting of value, and no longer about, okay, ETG is full with good people. It's a conversation of, okay, now I can look at ETG and sit down, and we can look at our IT strategy. We can look at our IT roadmap, and does this make sense to grow together? And that's the conversation I really enjoy having.
Awesome. And we should point out to our watchers, our listeners here, that because this is virtual, both of our computers have been buzzing a little bit. And, in my head, I immediately thought, I know you're a busy man and you're a sought after, leader. And so I'm assuming and having good faith that those are emails of opportunity and work with customers, and same for me here too. So just to point that out, but and apologies for anyone listening or watching that, but such is the nature of virtual podcasting. But no, Brian, you perfectly summarized that. And it is cool because, again, as someone who was a part of the very beginnings for the first 5 years, and then had exited, left, whatever, and joined different firms, to now come back some 3-4 years later, it is vastly evident. It really is vastly evident that the vision, as we've said now a million times, the vision, but also the way that the processes work, and even just as something as molecular as knowing what opportunities to go after, what ones are worthwhile, and what others may not be, and may cause you to spin wheels. And I can remember back in years ago when I was, leading sales efforts there, and there were plenty of things that I brought to the table that in the end showed that we were spinning our wheels. So the traction, the efficiency with which you're delivering services in those realms of, again, AWS and Azure, but then also, which is a great segue into, the roots, I'll call them, of your service lines that you've offered to your clients now that are in the healthcare and financial and manufacturing, all the different verticals you guys cover. I'd love to hear more about, you can touch on AWS, of course, as we have a few times, since it is such a prominent part of ETG's offering, but also what the other service lines are doing right now, and how those kind of fit into the piece of fit into the puzzle. Excuse me.
I think that's a great comment, John. And our goal, really looking at in any engagement, is to start, looking at everyone's process, and that process may be technology that, based on the size of the company or size of the product or the components that just may not make sense to be, cloud focused. That's why we take a look at every customer, and we really customize our offerings to what they need. And not everybody wants to jump to the cloud, this year, or may not have an immediate plan. But our team is really built, based on everything we just talked about, around everyone's customers' needs. Some of our customers are looking to build a product design, and we have the developers to do so. Some of our customers really want us to look at legacy systems and support them for a short period of time while they get their new systems up to date. A lot of the work we do is around what they call technical debt. Technical debt is really something that I wish we could work on if we had time, and that is something that is key to any organization's success, and that's where we can come in and help. So our team has seen and done a lot. And I really, it goes down to the values of the organization and how we can support those customers. And we do a very good job of making sure that our customer sees that value.
Awesome. And just to piggyback off that, you mentioned that your team has quite a bit of experience. And even before that, I should say, like Bab, one of your partners likes to say, technology is ubiquitous and it's only growing, evolving faster day by day. And so to have a partner like ETG and have such a breadth of knowledge in different technical services and offerings, but also the business experience, which is what I wanted to highlight a few seconds ago. We've had a podcast where we featured one of your clients, Greg Shoemaker, president of ARCA Asset Recovery Company of America, and how he was happy to, explain, delineate how ETG came into what is an incredibly complex, and we'll call it reverse logistics industry, and have one of your technical directors also featured on said podcast. Steve O'Keefe was able to come in and understand the business in time periods that Greg had said on the podcast live, prior, before, whatever, and of course now even that he had never seen. And so by being able to have directors who are able to understand the business terms, the way the business works, that's how you're going to intertwine technology and business so that there is that success and that growth. So again, kudos to team, to your directors. And I shouldn't leave out Garrett Hussick, who's also been a feature on the podcast. So major kudos there. And that's one of the biggest offerings. It's not only just your technical skill sets and depth of knowledge, but also the fact that you understand so many different industries that you've been working in. And I may have left some out, Brian. Why don't you just quickly, some of the industries that you guys are working in?
Yeah, even though we are heavy in healthcare, banking, and as you're pointing out, somewhat logistical work, I really don't like to focus on industry. I do like to focus on, what you're pointing out is our management team. Who are we? We're technical focused individuals. When I started this company, I spent most of my career doing development, and I think that's why organizations like to work with us, because when we step up to the table, you're going to be dealing with mostly technical individuals. And that's really the key to, I believe, kicking off any conversation, to look at process. So, that comes down to, engagement, right? We now have a fully focused engagement staff that is technical. And that engagement team is really important for us to grow, as you know. So our conversations start with, just like everyone else's, what can we help you with? But more importantly, can we have that conversation of value?
Excellent. Yeah, well said. So, we've covered a lot, but we've done it in a concise manner, which is awesome. For viewers to take in this great information. Talking about kind of obviously the quick intro, the vision, who you are as a company, the maturity, the plans years out from now, and obviously other service lines that we highlighted on, the importance of those to your clients and to prospect clients, as far as getting engaged. So on that topic, how would someone engage, someone interested that's watching this podcast? How would they contact ETG, yourself, even me, of course, as a representative of ETG? Why don't you unpack that in closing?
Yeah, no, thank you. First and foremost, anybody is welcome to reach out to me. And if they want to take a look at our website, we have a couple different engagement points on our website. Where if they're specifically looking for a topic to discuss, they can fill out the forms or information, and it'll immediately come to our team, which will include myself and a few others. So we will reach back out to you and do as much gathering before a conversation is had. And don't, no matter how small the project may seem, there's ways we can help, and there's, at least it's worth a conversation. So I'm very approachable, and a lot of people say, how do we engage with you? And it always starts with the conversation, and then we can talk about the next steps and where your comfort level is. If there's a budget, there's a budget conversation. If it's a scope conversation, so we can talk about the scope conversation. But and if it's a technology conversation, you're in the right place. So thank you, John, for asking.
Yeah, and I can expand too. So obviously your website, www.EmergenceTek.com. That's EmergenceTek. That'll be for sure listed in the YouTube link that we put up with this, and the other platforms that we'll be disseminating this podcast through. And so there's obviously that, and then using LinkedIn for myself, John Osberg, of course, of OZmosis Consulting, and then Brian yourself as well, Brian Lehman, I should say, of ETG, along with your partners. And you mentioned just two quick things as we conclude here. You mentioned how no matter how small you might think it is, or simple, or maybe even people might think, oh, this is stupid, I can't ask. But as you said, you certainly are approachable. I know that very well, and open to the conversations. And again, you've been a coach to me, you've been a mentor to me, a supporter of me, and I've seen you do that time and time again with companies and individuals, entrepreneurs, organizations, groups, and the like. And so just to drive that point home, that eager for the conversation, get to know people, as OZmosis says, connect, collaborate, champion. One thing that ETG is fantastic at, and the leaders and the directors are at, connecting genuine conversations and genuine desire to do good work and provide value via technology. So yeah, are there any closing remarks? I know obviously we're, not to date this, but we're coming off a tough loss here in the playoffs with the Bills. I know you're a Bills fan, and our community has really gotten energized off this, hence the Buffalo, New York painting, and your commitment to Buffalo and the surrounding areas. Any last words you'd like to impart with our audience?
No, going along with that theme, take a look at our team. I know they were not excited with their performance yesterday, but they took every game one step at a time. And, it's just like the maturity of this company. Every year we get stronger. And I feel that way, not just about our team, but about this city and about our company. So, we're hardworking. We take things one step at a time. And we know that, this company has a lot of potential, but it starts with the people. It starts with the core. And, if anybody else would like to, be a part of that, please reach out. John, you've done a lot. You've worked hard. You've seen, I think in being here in this office for many years, you've seen, what started. And thank you for having me. Thank you for taking the time, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, and as we wrap up, I just want to say that was a really cool analogy. And yeah, each year you get stronger, just like our Buffalo Bills. And, the results are, they were tough, right? Like you said, but in getting, keeping the faith and the hope and the energy, the momentum. Really, it's cool to see ETG, the analogy, the parallel, whatever, to your team, and to see the momentum that's been taken from a, tougher year in 2020 to 2021. Excited to be a part of it, grateful to be a part of it. And as always, just want to wrap this up by saying a big thanks to supporters, Vidwheel Creator Network, who I think I left out in the beginning. Apologies for that. In Zen mode here, was looking forward to talking with Brian. So, big thanks out to supporters, to ETG, of course, to you, Brian. And this has been great. So really appreciate you being on. And we'll look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.